Donate today at vancouver.citynews.ca/events.
In partnership with BC Unclaimed, reuniting unclaimed money with rightful owners. bcunclaimed.ca.
Proudly supported by 1130 News Radio Vancouver.
This is the perfect time of year to get engaged.
Think about all the Christmas parties and the New Year's Eve parties.
Everyone who cares about you will be conveniently gathered together.
And when you announce that you got engaged,
those parties will go to the next level.
People will be talking about those parties for years.
You'll have a good time.
All your friends will have a good time.
And your families will be out of their minds with unbridled joy.
I think we need to tell them one more time, Michael.
Think about all the Christmas parties.
Think about all the New Year's Eve parties.
And when you're done thinking, come to Spence Diamonds and try on hundreds of different engagement rings.
We've got all the designer prototypes right out in the open,
where you can just pick them up and try them on.
You have our official permission.
And every ring has a price on it that includes all the diamonds.
Come to Spence.
It's time to get engaged.
Spence. Open late in Vancouver and Langley.
A fresh 4.5-year low for the Canadian dollar today ahead of an interest rate announcement tomorrow. It was close to its lowest level since April 2020, closing at about 70.5 cents U.S. Now, our loonie on track for a loss of 6.5% this year versus the U.S. greenback, potentially the worst year since 2022. Bay Street didn't do much better. It was lower for a second straight day, down 121 points. 25,504. On Wall Street, we did see a record high on the NASDAQ ahead of U.S. inflation data tomorrow, but it finished lower by 49 points. The S&P was down 17. The Dow in the red for a fourth day, down 154. Boeing has resumed production on the 737 with others to follow. The company also delivered 13 jets in November, the fewest in 4 years. Shares in Boeing higher by about 4% on the day. And then Apple hit a record high for an 8th straight session, $248.21. That company now has a market cap of $3.75 trillion. At the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker.
At Science World, Earth matters.
Because we live here, right?
Well, yes.
I knew it.
But it's a little more complex than that. Earth matters to that tree, that bird in the tree, and that salmon sitting in the shade of the tree.
Wait, what?
Because in nature, everything is connected. Air, land, and water. Find out how at Earth Matters at Science World.
Yeah, but the salmon?
Exactly. Science World's feature exhibition, Earth Matters, is on now. Plan your visit today at scienceworld.ca.
Subaru dealers present the 2024 Solterra Test Drive, an all-electric vehicle that will surprise you. Feel the control of full-time symmetrical all-wheel drive, the power of legendary Japanese engineering, with a breakout performance of test driver played by you. Let's hear that drop again. Experience the surprise of the all-electric 2024 Subaru Solterra. Finance rates from 0.99% for up to 36 months. See dealer for details.
Number one for breaking news, traffic, and weather. 1130 News Radio, Vancouver.
Hello, welcome, and good evening to you. It is Tuesday, December 10th. I'm Mackenzie Fleet, currently 5 degrees. Cloudy skies in Vancouver. Here's what's making news right now. Vancouver homeowners can expect to see their property tax go up next year.
A close call for a local photographer who traveled to Mexico for a wedding, and a reminder to never transport a package abroad if you don't know what's inside.
BC Conservative Public Safety critic Eleanor Serco says she won't be meeting with former police board vice chair who quit her job after controversial social media posts. Place your bets with a colder than normal winter in the forecast. Odds makers are looking at the likelihood of a white Christmas for Vancouver.
Canucks and Blues from Rogers Arena just about done. We'll wrap it up for you if it ends by 45. That's coming up in sports at 45.
The NASDAQ hits a record high and then finishes in the red with U.S. inflation data coming tomorrow, while the TSX drops by more than 100 points. Business at 56.
9:31. Now we go to the 11:30 News Radio Traffic Center. And Kevin, the last time you and I chatted, the Lionsgate Bridge cleared up. I'm assuming that volume all gone now?
All gone, yeah. Lionsgate Bridge is looking great right now. Mackenzie, no delays there. No delays on the Ironworkers going down the Burnaby Lake stretch towards the Port Mann Bridge. There is could be some winter maintenance scheduled on the Port Mann Bridge tonight to watch for that. And of course, you got that road work on Highway 1 from Glover Road in Langley to McCallum Road in Abbotsford. First time we've chatted about it tonight, but paving, highway widening, and construction has some delays, especially around Bradner Road. Let's head over to the Patello Bridge on Highway 17. Westbound on the Surrey side from Tannery to Bridgeview is closed. The bridge is open, but westbound on Highway 17 will be closed. This will be overnight. They do have some detours in place, so to get around, you'll get around that by following those detours. No delays on the Queensboro. No delays on the Alex Fraser Bridge, but Highway 91 to Mud Bay Park will have some road sweeping starting in about 30 minutes. As Marcus mentioned in sports, the Canucks game is in the late stages, so if you're heading from downtown towards the Granville, Broadway, or Canby bridges, select the Granville or Broadway bridge. The Canby bridge has some maintenance that will have some lane closures in both directions. As for the weather, cloudy skies and cool tonight, a low of 2. Mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday, a high of 8. Steady rain on Thursday, a high of 8. It is currently 4 degrees in Vancouver, Mackenzie.
Thank you, Kevin. 11:30 news time, 9:33. Vancouver City Council has approved a property tax increase of 3.9% for 2025 for a total budget of $2.4 billion. The vote comes weeks after debate and fine-tuning as staff released its first draft budget on November 21st, suggesting an increase of 5.5%. Mayor Ken Sims says staff worked hard to reduce that number over the last year.
Our team across the entire city going back to the drawing board and really prioritizing what makes sense and what we can either defer or, doesn't have as much impact.
The 3.9% hike equates to about $54 more for the average condo or strata unit and about $149 for the average single-family home. Last December, Council approved 7.5% property tax increase for 2024. BC Conservative public safety critic Eleanor Sturko says she won't be meeting with the former Vancouver Police Board vice chair who quit her job after making controversial social media remarks. That's after party leader John Rustad publicly backed Comfort Sakoma Fajuga, saying he had met with her and that Sturko should too. Rustad made those comments when Sturko suggested Sakoma Fajuga's resignation last month was appropriate after she made comments that were offensive, including to the transgender community. Sturko says she doesn't intend on letting the disagreement harm her working relationship with Rustad or any of her colleagues. And it's a reminder to never agree to transport something across an international border if you don't know what's inside. 11:30 Shushta Gungdev is hearing from a local photographer who had a close call with the package they were asked to take to Mexico.
Navjot Dillon says his company, INEV Photo, was hired to photograph a wedding in Mexico in November. The wedding planner hired by the couple had messaged his team asking if they could urgently take a package with them that was needed for one of the wedding ceremonies. Dillon says that's something they do all the time, but in this case, the photographer involved had a hunch and opened the package to find cannabis pens inside. Dillon says they immediately removed the package, but the situation could have ended very badly.
His luggage still ended up getting some traces of it, and when he landed in Mexico, the customs sniffer dogs, they pulled him aside and they strip searched him every single piece of cloth in his luggage.
Dillon says the planner initially blamed other people, including the couple who was getting married. He's warning others in the industry to be careful before they agree to take anything across international borders on behalf of another person. I'm Srishti Gangdev.
11:30 news time, 9:35, and you may have noticed a rather unusual amount of police on the roads last weekend. That was part of the RCMP's light up the province. They're now out with the numbers. In total, over 43,000 vehicles were checked, and out of those, at least 222 were impaired. And the Right for Rights campaign this year targets Canada's criminalization of Wet'suwet'en land defenders. The land defenders are one of 9 cases selected for this year Right for Rights campaign, and the only second time in the campaign's history that a Canadian topic is featured. Started by Amnesty International over 20 years ago, the campaign provides an opportunity for people to take action in support of those persecuted around the world through writing. Kat is the CEO of Amnesty International. She says to have a Canadian case that's enough to garner so much interest around the world is very significant.
And I think it means a lot for the Wet'suwet'en land defenders themselves to feel that they're not alone, that there are people around the world, as I said, could be in Angola, Thailand, it could be in Mexico, who are writing a letter to the BC authorities and asking them to stop persecuting these land defenders.
She says the campaign peaks each year on December 10th, International Human Rights Day. In 2023, more than 5.8 million actions were taken, making Right for Rights the biggest human rights event in the world. And roughly $2 million has been raised by PAVCO through the 2024 BC Place Community Benefit Program. This was accomplished by donating 4 suites and more than 100 tickets to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour shows in Vancouver. Chris May, the general manager at BC Place, has nothing but good things to say about Swifties.
We had QR codes up around the venue for people to donate to food banks that generated tens of thousands in donations for food banks. That just, the public and the fans of the Eras Tour and the Swifties really, Vancouver was a magic place over the weekend.
The BC Place Community Benefit Program officially launched this fall and donated a suite to 4 of the largest fundraising charity galas: the Canadian Cancer Society's Daffodil Ball, the VGH and UBC Hospital Foundation's Vitality Gala, the Victoria Hospitals Foundation Visions Gala, and the BC Children's Hospital Foundation's Crystal Ball. And this should make the holidays a little more interesting. PlayNow.com, BC's only legal regulated online gambling site, is taking your bets on the likelihood of Vancouver having a white Christmas this year. They say the odds of Vancouver getting some snow on Christmas Day are 3-1. That means you put $10 down, you win $30. Also, you can bet on Regina, Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, and Victoria. Environment Canada says Vancouver has had a green Christmas for 30 out of the past 35 years. That's more than any large city in the country. And in sports, Canada has opened its selection camp for the 2025 World Junior Hockey Championship in the nation's capital. Hockey Canada's Scott Salmon explains why head coach Dave Cameron, who won gold in 2009 as an assistant and again in 2022 in the top job, is the right man to lead the country into the annual tournament.
Dave is of a vintage where his expectations and the way that he holds players accountable is very clear, and I think that's important in short-term competition.
Canada will be looking to build on its record 20 gold medals after a disappointing 5th-place finish in Sweden last year. Still to come, the 11:30 Border Report. It's 9:38.
11:30 News Radio, Vancouver.
Drainmaster is your trenchless expert, specializing in water line, sewer line, and drain tile repairs without digging a trench. Call Drainmaster Plumbers at 604-739-2000. DrainmasterTrenchless.com. DrainmasterTrenchless.com.
Don't miss the London Drugs Weekly Flyer. During the Canada Post disruption, you can still find London Drugs Weekly Flyer in-store or online at londondrugs.com/flyer. That's londondrugs.com/flyer.
That swoosh means it's time to take a look at those borders with Kevin. Kevin, how are they looking?
Well, that swoosh basically is the sound of getting through the border right now, Mackenzie. A 5 to 10 minute wait at all crossings heading south, a 5 to 10 minute wait at all crossings heading north, and that includes for commercial trucks as well. If you are off to Bellingham, it is a pretty cool night. It has been cloudy skies and it is 1 degree. You can find the latest border wait times anytime at vancouver.citynews.ca/border.
Thank you, Kevin. And Kevin will be back in a minute to see if it's a swoosh on the roads with traffic on the ones.
The Subaru winter has arrived. The crisp air and negative temperatures mean one thing: camping. Emerge from your icy tent and bask in 4 to 6 hours of sunlight. Enjoy the unmistakable smell of campfire through the glacial wind pummeling your face. Relax by the water, taking in the soothing sounds of thick ice cracking and popping. Get out there in winter like it's summer with standard symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive and advanced safety systems. Your holiday bonus awaits. Visit your local Subaru dealer for details.
You want to achieve greatness?
Quinn Hughes sets a new mark with his 77th point of the season.
You better be ready to face the elements.
He's hit hard by Susie.
Embrace hard. Because this is a city built by people who are not afraid of the climb. And when we gather behind this crest,
Joshua scores! Listen to this place!
we achieve what no one thinks possible.
Quinn Hughes, key of the game, scores!
All together, all in. Join us this season at Canucks.com/tickets.
9:41 now. We head back to the 11:30 News Radio Traffic Center. And Kevin, how is Rogers Arena looking, considering folks aren't leaving the game yet?
If you're at Rogers Arena, don't leave the game now. It's in overtime. They just tie it with like a few seconds to go here. So stay at the game. But if you're leaving the game, and you're heading towards the Granville, Granby, and Broadway bridges, take a Burrard Bridge, not Broadway, Burrard Bridge, or to the Granville Bridge. There is maintenance going on the Canby Bridge in both directions. Not a lot of sounds of swoosh, maybe sounds of road work going on across Metro Vancouver, and we start in Surrey with that, with on Highway 17 westbound from Bridgeview to Tannery. You've got closure as part of the Patello Bridge replacement project. There will be detours in place. There will be road sweeping on Highway 91 towards Highway 99, Mud Bay Park in Surrey. And of course, Fraser Highway from 184th to 188th has road work. And then on Highway 1 from Glover Road in Langley to McCallum Road in Abbotsford, there's paving, highway widening, and construction, particularly slow around Bradner. And Highway 10 in Langley between 70th and 75th also has construction. As for the weather, mainly cloudy and cool tonight, a low of 2. A mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday, a high of 8. Steady rain on Thursday, a high of 8. Showers on Friday, a high of 7. We're currently at 4 degrees in Vancouver, Mackenzie.
Thank you very much, Kevin. 11:30 news time, 9:42. Let's go to the States, where police in Ohio say the residence of Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow was broken into during Monday Night Football while he was beating the Dallas Cowboys. Reporter Ariel Resha says it's the latest in a series of home invasions of pro athletes in the U.S.
So far, the sheriff in Ohio saying the burglary at Burrow's home does not appear to be connected to a rash of recent crimes targeting sports stars. But the NFL, NBA, and NHL all warning of a South American crime syndicate saying skilled criminals are increasingly targeting athletes' homes on game days.
Football stars Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have also been the victims of break-ins, as have Bobby Portis and Mike Conley Jr. of the NBA. And up next in sports, busy night in the NHL. Ton of teams in action. Find out who won, who didn't. But next in sports with Marcus Fitzgerald.
Sleep Shop. Boxing Week Bedlam is here. Get a bundle deal on an adjustable base, queen memory foam mattress, 2 memory foam pillows, all for only $19.98. Plus, enjoy no tax on all Tempur-Pedic mattresses and snag the Queen Spring Air bed-in-a-box mattress for only $6.98. Only at Sleep Shop. Visit us in-store in North Vancouver, Richmond and Langley, or online at sleepshop.ca. Sleep Shop for the rest of your life.
Dashing through the aisles, your meals are gonna slay. We'll match every flyer, save on wings today. Stack up on shrimp rings, your cheese board will delight. What fun it is to grocery shop when you're getting the best price. Oh, dinner bells, dinner all the way. Oh, what fun it is to shop when you're getting extra savings.
We'll price match any flyer to make your holiday sing. Save on foods, giving you extra.
After a tough loss to Anaheim, can the Senators ramp up their intensity and even the score? Catch all the action on Scotiabank Wednesday Night Hockey, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on Sportsnet.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. 1130 News Radio.
Hello and good evening to you. I'm Mackenzie Fleet, currently 5 degrees. Cloudy skies in Vancouver. Here's what's making news right now. Vancouver City Council has approved its draft budget of $2.4 billion, which includes a 3.9% increase to the residential property tax, and the Lower Mainland is still home to the most expensive cities to rent in across Canada. The average one-bedroom going for just over $2,500 in Vancouver, and after sports, some surprising results from a recent ICBC survey.
Oh, honey, look, it's carolers.
'Tis the season for a vacation, fa la 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 la. Leave the coat for a sunny location, fa la 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 la. Ditch the mittens, grab the lotion, fa la 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 la.
With Sunwing's Seasons of Savings on now, why not ditch the cold and dive straight into sun? Visit your local travel agent or
sunwing.ca.
Canucks and Blues taking things to overtime at Rogers Arena on a Tuesday with the goalie out. Net goalie, by the way, Thatcher Demko, who's been solid in his regular season debut. We haven't seen him in between the pipes since last April. He's been good tonight. Gave the Canucks a chance, especially in that third period. Jake DeBrusk tied it up with 1:50 2:52 on the clock. So overtime on the go, shootout potentially. We'll see what goes down. Sportsnet 650 on the call. They've got the post-game show after as well. Part of a very busy night in the NHL. You can check all that out at sportsnet.ca. Now, next action for the Canucks, I should point out, they'll take on the Florida Panthers on Thursday. JT Miller was at morning skate with the group on Tuesday prior to this game against St. Louis. He will practice Wednesday. We don't know for sure if he's going to play against the Panthers. Miller hasn't played since the middle of November, took that leave of absence for personal reasons from the club, but good to see him back out there over the last day and a bit. The Panthers facing the Kraken, they actually went to overtime in Seattle. That game is tied at a goal apiece. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime. Sportsnet.ca/650.
The by-election in Cloverdale, Langley City is on Monday, December 16th. Polls will be open from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Due to the Postal Service disruption, electors will not receive a voter information card. You don't need one to vote. Visit elections.ca to find your assigned polling station and the list of accepted ID to prove your identity and address. For the official information you need to vote, visit elections.ca or call 1-800-463-6868. It's our vote.
You're listening to 1130 News Radio Vancouver. I'm Mackenzie Fleet. New housing measures, but more dodging around the size of the deficit. Our Cormac McSweeney reports the federal finance minister is providing more details about her fall economic statement, which will be tabled on Monday.
The fiscal update will feature new measures to try and help you build secondary suites onto your home, from rentals to laneway homes to grandparent suites. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland.
We are doubling the loan limit for the Canada Secondary Suite Loan Program to $80,000.
The feds also plan on allowing refinancing of mortgages to pay for new secondary suites up to $2 million. But the minister remained evasive about whether or not the deficit will stick to her promised cap of $40 billion or blow past that. Every time she was asked, she answered by discussing a different fiscal target.
The debt to GDP ratio for 23-24, which we set out in the 2024 budget, will be met.
The parliamentary budget officer has estimated the deficit could be around $47 billion. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
And Ontario Premier Doug Ford reveals the Prime Minister will lead a phone call with the Premiers on Wednesday afternoon to discuss how Canada plans to respond to the U.S. trade threat.
To put together a proposal, number one, to strengthen our borders and to come up with a plan for negotiations with the U.S. on the trade.
On his Truth Social late last night, U.S. President-elect Trump called Prime Minister Trudeau a, quote, governor, and Canada a, quote, great state.
I can tell the president, I'm sure not thinking of Justin Trudeau at midnight. So if he's thinking of Justin at midnight, it's probably a good relationship.
The Prime Minister on Monday suggested that Canada stands ready to take some sort of action against the U.S. if Trump does follow through on his tariff threat.
Well, let's see what the Americans bring to the table. We'll decide from there. And if it's appropriate, then we will retaliate.
Richard Southern, Queen's Park.
And up in 60 seconds, your traffic and weather forecast.
Working for you for nearly 3 decades.
Always listen 3, 4, 5 times a day for breaking news, traffic, and weather.
1130 News Radio, Vancouver.
It's the most wonderful time of the year on Pluto TV. Get all your holiday favorites absolutely free. Cozy up with festive classics and heartwarming movies streaming all day, every day to get you in the holiday spirit. Explore entire channels guaranteed to spread the cheer with bright lights, festive fireplaces, and the holiday music you love. We've got something for everyone. Season's greetings from Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
In 100 meters, turn right. Actually, no. Turn left. There's some awesome new breakfast wraps at McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah. There's the sausage, bacon, and egg. A crispy seasoned chicken one. A spicy and egg. Worth the detour.
They sound amazing.
Bet they taste amazing, too. Wish I had a mouth. Take your morning into a delicious new direction with McDonald's new breakfast wraps. Add a small premium roast coffee for $1 plus tax. At participating McDonald's restaurants. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
It's 9:51 from the 1130 Traffic Center. I'm Kevin Olenek, and we start on Highway 1 from Glover Road in Langley to McCallum Road in Abbotsford. That ongoing road work continues to cause delays, especially eastbound around Bradner Road. You'll notice that, 272nd. So watch for that delay. Of course, that has been ongoing road work. You also have road work on Lougheed Highway and Highway 11 in Mission. Watch for delays in both directions. We'll head over to Surrey. Highway 17 between Tannery Road and Bridgeview Drive westbound is closed. That's part of the Patella Bridge replacement project. Now, key thing that I want to note here, because we do get calls every once in a while, the Patella Bridge is open. It's the westbound Highway 17 that is closed. But if you want to get around that, get over to the Queensboro Bridge. No work on the Alex Fraser Bridge scheduled, but watch for work on Highway 91 to Mud Bay Park as they are doing some road sweeping. No work scheduled on the Massey Tunnel, but construction is scheduled on Highway 99 from Blundell over to Steveston. As we look at the weather, we've got some mainly cloudy and cool skies tonight, a low of 2. A mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday, a high of 8. Steady rain on Thursday, a high of 8. More showers on Friday, a high of 7. And Saturday, mainly cloudy with a risk of showers and a high of 5. It is currently 4 degrees in Vancouver.
Welcome back to 1130 News Radio Vancouver. I'm Mackenzie Fleet. We'll begin in the prairies, where Alberta Health Services say that it's taken a number of steps to better train hospital staff after an Indigenous man's braids were cut off without his consent while he was staying at the Royal Alexandra Hospital in Edmonton this past spring. Kathleen Crow, whose 84-year-old uncle, Dexter Adams, had his braids cut off, says the incident was crushing as the braids held a deep cultural significance for him.
The braids were found in the garbage on top of a soiled adult diaper, and it was horrible. I can't even begin to describe how awful that was.
Adam's family and NDP Indigenous Relations critic Brooks Arcand-Paul says more needs to be done than offer new training opportunities for staff, which they say isn't enough to live up to the Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner's recommendations on nursing. Overseas, China's military appears to be up to something around Taiwan, but it's unclear whether it's a full-scale drill.
China's military had not publicly announced any drills, but Taiwan says dozens of Chinese warships and other vessels have been deployed around the self-governing island. Taiwan's defense ministry calling the war games the biggest in nearly 3 decades. The drills appear to come in response to Taiwan's president visiting the U.S. last week. Inez de la Gutera, ABC News, at the Foreign Desk.
And back home, it's quite common to get stressed out while navigating through a parking lot. That is according to a recent survey from ICBC. It shows 7 out of 10 drivers have been or witnessed a crash in a parking lot. About 1 in 4 drivers say they're either very nervous or extremely nervous when it comes to driving through parking lots during busy times of the year. Nearly half disagree that they feel safer driving in a busy lot compared to an open road. Additionally, almost half of drivers prefer to reverse in a parking stall unless people choose not to because it's either not necessary or it's easier to pull in. And now to your 1130 News Radio All Christmas News. The city of Surrey is excited to announce the return of the Winter Ice Palace at Cloverdale Arena this month, celebrating its 25th anniversary. From December 14th to January 5th, the arena will be transformed with twinkling lights, colorful decorations, cheerful music, and more to mark the special occasion. This popular traditional event is an unforgettable skating experience and is the perfect way to spend time with your loved ones during the holiday season. To commemorate the anniversary, a special kickoff event will be held on December 14th, featuring food trucks, giveaways, and festive music. Attendees can enjoy 2 skating sessions from 1 to 2:30 p.m. and 3 to 4:30 p.m. And up in 60 seconds, your business report.
Your 24/7 home for live and local news.
Everything Vancouver.
1130 News Radio.
The holidays can be devastating when a loved one's drinking spirals. Missed moments, broken promises, and the crushing anxiety of wondering if tonight will be another crisis. It doesn't have to be this way. At Orchard Recovery Center, they understand the heartbreak and fear, and the relief when someone finally says, "I need help." This season, give your family the gift of a new beginning with Orchard Recovery Center on Bowen Island. A fresh start is closer than you think. Visit orchardrecovery.com today.
Hey driver, you know what that is? That's the sound of your new vehicle from Used Car Dealer of the Year, BCS Auto Sales. With BCS Auto Sales financing, we go the extra mile to get you approved, guaranteed. Working with over 20 lenders, we're able to get you the best rate, terms, and conditions for your vehicle loan. Specials include no money down and no payments for 6 months OAC. With hundreds of quality vehicles to choose from, it's no wonder why we are Used Car Dealer of the Year 7 years in a row. Shop with confidence in person in South Vancouver or online at bcsautosales.ca.
A fresh 4.5-year low for the Canadian dollar today ahead of an interest rate announcement tomorrow. It was close to its lowest level since April 2020, closing at about 70.5 cents U.S. Now, our loonie on track for a loss of 6.5% this year versus the U.S. greenback, potentially the worst year since 2022. Bay Street didn't do much better. It was lower for a second straight day, down 121 points. 25,504. On Wall Street, we did see a record high on the NASDAQ ahead of U.S. inflation data tomorrow, but it finished lower by 49 points. The S&P was down 17. The Dow in the red for a fourth day, down 154. Boeing has resumed production on the 737 with others to follow. The company also delivered 13 jets in November, the fewest in 4 years. Shares in Boeing higher by about 4% on the day. And then Apple hit a record high for an 8th straight session, $248.21. That company now has a market cap of $3.75 trillion. At the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker.
This is the perfect time of year to get engaged.
Think about all the Christmas parties and the New Year's Eve parties.
Everyone who cares about you will be conveniently gathered together.
And when you announce that you got engaged,
those parties will go to the next level.
People will be talking about those parties for years.
You'll have a good time.
All your friends will have a good time.
And your families will be out of their minds with unbridled joy.
I think we need to tell them one more time, Michael.
Think about all the Christmas parties.
Think about all the New Year's Eve parties.
And when you're done thinking, come to Spence Diamonds and try on hundreds of different engagement rings.
We've got all the designer prototypes right out in the open,
where you can just pick them up and try them on.
You have our official permission.
And every ring has a price on it that includes all the diamonds.
Come to Spence.
It's time to get engaged.
Spence. Open late in Vancouver and Langley.
Sonic 104.9 is the new alternative.
It's there.
Be you.
Be different.
Be alternative.
Welcome a little Sonic into your life. Sonic 104.9.
Find us on the all-new Seeker app or tell your smart speaker to play Sonic Radio.
Sports never stops. So while you're home, you need a way to stay connected to the best sports talk and news. That's why Sportsnet 650 integrates seamlessly into your smart home. Alexa, Google Home, it all works with the Sportsnet app. Go to sportsnet.ca/650 for news, podcasts, shows, and more. Follow us on Twitter at Sportsnet 650 to be a part of the conversation. Radio's home of hockey. Sportsnet 650.
It's 9:59. We've got time for a quick story before we get to the top of the hour. TikTok has filed a legal challenge of the federal government's order to shut down the social media platform's Canadian operations.
TikTok wants the federal court in Vancouver to pause the order while it argues its case on why the government's decision should be overturned. It claims the minister's decision was unreasonable and driven by improper purposes. Ottawa issued the wind-up order in November after a national security review of TikTok's Chinese parent company. TikTok claims the order will eliminate hundreds of jobs and potentially terminate 250,000 contracts that it has with Canadian advertising clients. Jason White, The Canadian Press.
CKWXAM.
A Rogers radio station.
1130. News Radio, Vancouver.
It's 10 o'clock.
Number one for breaking news, traffic, and weather. 1130. News Radio, Vancouver.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, December 10th. I'm Anthony Atanesov. 5 degrees, mostly cloudy in Vancouver. Here's what's making news right now. If you own a home and live in Vancouver, prepare for a 3.9% property tax increase next year as City Council's approved its 2025 budget.
A reminder not to transport packages across the border if you don't know what's in them. That after a local wedding photographer had a near miss with customs officers in Mexico.
Amnesty International's annual global letter writing campaign has supporters calling on Canadian lawmakers to stop the criminalization of Wet'suwet'en land defenders.
And roughly $2 million has been raised by PAFCO through the 2024 BC Place Community Benefit Program, all thanks to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour.
A little free hockey at Rogers Arena on a Tuesday night. We'll tell you the stories. The Canucks battle the Blues coming up in sports at 15.
A losing day on Wall Street ahead of U.S. inflation data. The Dow in the red for a fourth day, while Bay Street drops by more than 100 points. Business at 26.
It's 10:01. Now to your 11:30 News Radio Traffic Center, and we say good evening to Kevin Olnick.
Good evening, Anthony. And we start on Highway 17 westbound from Tannery Road to Bridgeview Drive is closed. That's as part of the Patello Bridge replacement project. There are detours in place. Now, the bridge is open, but it's Highway 17 westbound that is closed. At Queensboro Bridge, no delays. Alex Fraser Bridge, no delays. But watch for some road sweeping scheduled on Highway 91 to Mud Bay Park. Massey Tunnel also looking good, but construction is scheduled to start here shortly on Highway 99 from Bloodendale to Steveston. And in Vancouver, as you're approaching the Oak Street Bridge, just a reminder on that Vancouver side, it's now 2 lanes northbound, 1 lane southbound for that sewer work. And as far as if you're heading home from the game and going towards the Canby Bridge, maybe rethink it a little bit and head over to the Granville Bridge. That there is some lane closures in both directions on the Canby Bridge for maintenance. As for the weather, cloudy, cool tonight, a low of 2. Mix of sun and cloud on Wednesday, a high of 8. Steady rain on Thursday with a high of 8. It is currently cloudy and 5 degrees in Vancouver. Anthony?
Thank you very much, Kevin. 11:30 news time is 10:03. Now to your top stories. Vancouver City Council approving a 3.9% property tax increase for next year, resulting in a total budget of $2.4 billion. A 3.9% property tax increase translates to an annual increase of about $54 for the average size condo and $149 for the average single-family home. The decision follows weeks of discussion and adjustments, with the initial budget proposal released on November 21st, suggesting a 5.5% increase. Mayor Ken Sim is lauding the work of staff in bringing that number down.
We inherited an environment that was quite challenging, and now, the hard work from all our team members at the City of Vancouver are starting to pay dividends. So this is just the start.
This approval comes after a 7.5% property tax hike was implemented last December. And BC Conservative public safety critic Eleanor Sturko is refusing to meet a former Vancouver Police Board vice chair in defiance of the wishes of party leader John Rustad and a group of colleagues. Backed the woman over controversial social media posts. Sturko says she's not challenging Rustad and doesn't intend on letting differences of opinion impact her working relationship with him or her colleagues.
I haven't changed my position. I understand and respect that some of my colleagues don't share the same position as I do, which is fine. But I was elected to do a job on behalf of all British Columbians, and that is to be the critic for public safety and to be the MLA, and that's what I'm focused on.
Sturko, a former RCMP officer, defected to the BC Conservatives ahead of the BC provincial election. And a local wedding photographer is out with a warning to other vendors in the industry who might be traveling for destination weddings. Don't transport packages on anyone's behalf unless you know what's inside. 11:30 Srishti Gungdev tells us that comes after a close call in Mexico that could have ended very badly.
Navjot Dillon owns local photography company iNav. They were hired to photograph a wedding in Mexico in November. Dillon tells us as they were ready to travel there, the wedding planner hired by the couple asked them to take along a package that she said was urgently needed for one of the ceremonies. He says that's something they routinely do for other couples or vendors.
Because there's a lot of stuff that goes out from here to Mexico that you cannot find in there, and that's like important stuff to execute the wedding ceremony.
But this time the photographer involved opened the package on a hunch and found cannabis inside. They took the package out immediately, but Dillon says the photographer's bags were still flagged by sniffer dogs when they landed in Mexico, and says if they hadn't checked, things could have ended differently. He says he'll be warning all his couples in the future not to work with the planner. I'm Srishti Gungdev.
11:30 news time, 10:05, 5 degrees, mostly cloudy in Vancouver. The Wet'suwet'en land defenders are one of the 9 cases selected for this year's Right for Rights campaign. The campaign, started by Amnesty International over 20 years ago, provides an opportunity for people to take action in support of those persecuted around the world for work around human rights. Katie Nivyabandi is the Secretary General of Amnesty International Canada. She says the campaign, which usually starts around December, sees millions of people writing in support of those unjustly persecuted. The campaign peaks today on International Human Rights Day.
This year is only the second time that we have a Canada-focused case. We had one back in 2019, but this is the second one in the history of Right for Rights. And indeed, cases focused on Wet'suwet'en land defender.
She says the campaign peaks always on International Human Rights Day. And as mentioned, it's only the second time that the Global Right for campaign has featured a Canadian-focused case. And stateside, no bail for the suspect accused of gunning down United Healthcare's chief executive last week in Manhattan. All of this as we learn details about a possible motive and the continued ionization of the Ivy League graduate. ABC's Aaron Katursky reports.
His former roommate in Hawaii said Mangione struggled with a back injury.
He did let me know that the severity of his back issue was such that it was very difficult to have physical relationships with women.
On social media, police see he posted an x-ray of a spine and wrote about back pain, sciatica, and brain fog, saying it's absolutely brutal to have such a life-threatening issue. Mangione's case has become a cause, with admirers posting videos like this on Instagram. A social media profile gained hundreds of thousands of followers after his arrest, and the police department that arrested Mangione has been threatened.
It could take weeks for the extradition proceedings to play out, but the Manhattan DA's office is adamant Mangione will return to New York. His lawyer's office has been inundated with phone calls from people offering to pay his legal bills.
And that was ABC's Aaron Katursky. And PAVCO says the BC Place Community Benefit Program has raised approximately $2 million for vital charitable causes across BC by donating 4 suites and more than 100 tickets to the Taylor Swift The Eras Tour show from December 6th to 8th. Chris May, the general manager of BC Place, says his initial goal was only half of that.
Kept saying, I dream we could raise $1 million. I want to raise $1 million for charity across BC, $1 million. And people looked at me like I was crazy. And we raised 2. It's gone so well. It's gone so well. We're very happy.
The BC Place Community Benefit Program empowers BC registered charities to raise critical funds by leveraging the stadium's unique assets. And you may have noticed a rather unusual amount of police on the roads last weekend. That was part of the RCMP's Light Up the Province campaign. Now, with the numbers. In total, 43,713 vehicles were checked, and out of those, at least 222 were impaired. And still to come, your 11:30 News Radio Ferry Report. It's 10:09.
Number 1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. 11:30 News Radio Vancouver.
It was a difficult time and I didn't believe that things would get better. And then I got the call. This stopover became more than just a place to crash. I felt seen. I learned skills. I made friends. I discovered the courage to be myself. Before, I couldn't even dream. Now I'm thriving. I know who I am and I know what I need. I'm Alex and this is just the beginning.
Help more youth write a happy ending. Covenant House Vancouver's Triple Match campaign is on now. Donate today for Triple the Impact at covenanthousebc.org.
And that means it's time for your 11:30 News Radio Ferry Report. Here is Kevin Olenek.
And the ferries are wrapping up for the night here, Anthony, but the Tsawwassen Swartz Bay first sailing tomorrow, 7 o'clock, is 80% full. The 9 o'clock sailing is 75% full. Tsawwassen to Duke Point, last sailing tonight, 10:45, half full. First sailing tomorrow, 5:15, also half full. And Horseshoe Bay to Departure Bay, that last sailing just about to sail here, right at 10:10. And then the first sailing tomorrow is at 6:15. You can find the latest ferries updates anytime at vancouver.citynews.ca/traffic.
And in a minute, Kevin will be back with your traffic and weather together on the ones. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Trevor Linden. Being over 50 doesn't mean you're old, but it does mean that it's more important than ever to take your health and well-being seriously. Making small changes could mean a big difference. That's why supplementing with the right men's health product is key. I trust Prairie Naturals men's health products. Look for ProstForce, TestForce, and other Prairie Naturals men's health products at a Choices Market near you. or shop online at prairienaturals.ca.
Here with Basant Motors brand ambassador Dakota Joshua. Dakota, how's the confidence level this season?
Great. With my vehicle from Basant Motors, I can feel confident in any season.
I was talking more about on the ice.
Nah, they won't let me take my car out on the ice.
All right. Do you think you'll need to drop the gloves at any point?
Oh, yeah. It's way harder to drive with them on.
Okay, I think we're done.
Cool. Need a ride?
Oh, yeah.
You should talk to my guys at Basant Motors. They've got a lot full of them.
BASANTmotors.com.
And back to your 11:30 News Radio Traffic Center. Kevin Olnick, what's happening on the Canby Bridge right now?
Well, there will be some lane closures in both directions, Anthony, as they are doing some work on both sides of the bridge. So if you're heading from the game to the Canby Bridge, you're going to have a little bit of a delay going through Yaletown. I would recommend trying to get onto the Granville or Burrard Bridge. Of course, you also got a reminder here, the Broadway subway project is continuing, so you do have some detours to be aware of in both directions, all across Broadway in several different areas. Just always want to remind people of that, as well as that work that is going on Canby and 41st. It's 2 lanes in each direction on Canby. And then Oak and 70th is now 2 lanes northbound, 1 lane southbound. But once you're on the Vancouver to Richmond bridges, Oak Street, Arthur Lang, Knight Street, you're all looking great. And no delays on the Massey Tunnel, but construction scheduled on Highway 99 between Steveston and Blundell. As for the weather, we're expecting some partly cloudy skies tonight, low of 2. Mix of sun and cloud tomorrow, a high of 8. Steady rain on Thursday, a high of 8. And then showers on Friday, a high of 7. We are currently at 4 degrees in Vancouver. Anthony?
Thank you very much, Kevin. 11:30 news time is 10:13. 2 agents with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security are facing drug allegations.
According to court documents, 2 Department of Homeland Security agents in Utah sold drugs that were previously seized as evidence. The alleged scheme involved an informant and brought in up to $300,000. According to an FBI affidavit filed in the case, the agents sold an illicit synthetic drug commonly known as bath salts, which experts say is similar to methamphetamine, cocaine, or ecstasy. The transactions typically involved 1 ounce of the drug for $5,000 that would then be sold by the informant at a higher cost. Investigators say searches of the agents' homes turned up cash, drugs, and other evidence. I'm Norman Hall.
And in international news, the Russia-Ukraine war will be at the top of Poland's agenda when the country takes over the presidency of the European Union.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk saying peace talks on the war in Ukraine could possibly start this winter. Poland has been one of Kyiv's staunchest supporters since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Tusk said Warsaw would aim to be heavily involved in any peace talks when it takes up the European Union's rotating presidency on January 1st. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News, at the Foreign Desk.
And coming up in just a minute, your sports updates with Marcus Fitzgerald. Your Canucks came back late in the third period, but unfortunately dropped 4-3 in overtime to the St. Louis Blues. We'll have all your updates on Thatcher Demko's first game back as well, and your other top stories. Stay with us.
Have you been disinherited? Were you left out of your parents' will? Did your siblings inherit more than you? At Ronald Kumar Law, they will fight to ensure you get a fair inheritance. British Columbia law allows for a disinherited person to challenge a will. But there are time limits to contest a will, so contact Ronald Kumar at willdisputes.ca to book a free consultation today. Ronald Kumar Law. We only get paid if we win.
It's Todd Talbot for the VGH Millionaire Lottery with big news about this year's early bird. Now with 61 prizes worth over $210,000. Choose 2 electric vehicles or a private jet experience or $125,000 in cash. Or be one of 60 additional winners of tax-free cash. Win big and support VGH and UBC Hospital Foundation. Get tickets at millionairelottery.com or London Drugs.
19 plus to play. Know your limit. Play within it.
Looking for great last-minute gifts? At Shoppers Drug Mart, you'll find gifts for them and get PC Optimum points for you. Shop in-store or online. Exclusions apply.
Vancouver's Trusted News. 1130 News Radio.
5 degrees and mostly cloudy in Vancouver. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Anthony Atanisov. Here's what's happening. The Wet'suwet'en Land Defenders are one of 9 cases selected for this year's Right for Rights campaign started by Amnesty International over 20 years ago. It's a campaign that provides an opportunity for people around the world to take action by writing letters and messages in support of those persecuted around the world for work on human rights. And BC Conservative public safety critic Eleanor Sturko refusing to meet a former Vancouver Police Board vice chair in defiance of the wishes of party leader John Rustad and a group of colleagues who have backed the woman over controversial social media posts. And still to come.
The federal finance minister announces new housing measures that will be featured in the upcoming fall fiscal update, but continues to dodge questions about the size of the deficit. Now for sports from Sportsnet 650, your home of the Canucks, here's Marcus Fitzgerald.
It was a bit of a strange night at Rogers Arena for the Vancouver Canucks. Once again, not the most fiery performance on home ice. They've been whatever at Rogers Arena this season. We know that by now. But the big story, of course, was Thatcher Demko's return. And frankly, he gave the Canucks a chance to win in this game in the third period. It gave the chance for the Canucks to tie the game in the third period, which they did. That came late on a goal by Jake DeBrusk. But ultimately, it was Dylan Holloway scoring the overtime winner, going up over the shoulder of Demko to end this game. St. Louis takes the 2 points. They win 4-3. Elias Pettersson scored his 8th of the season. We also saw Dakota Joshua grabbing his first off a setup from Connor Garland. It would be great for the Canucks if they could refine and regain that connection. JT Miller was with the club on the ice skating at morning skate on Tuesday. He's expected to practice on Wednesday. We don't know for sure, though, if Miller is going to go Thursday, as the homestand will continue against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. We will have to wait and see. And obviously, curious to see just how much work Thatcher Demko gets after night one. Always want to see what it's going to be like the day after. But a frustrating loss for the Canucks on an up-and-down night at Rogers Arena. Again, they've got the Panthers coming in on Thursday. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour, anytime. Sportsnet.ca/650.
Sports is brought to you by the Hockey Shop in Langley.
Hi, it's Brendan Batchelor. If you have a hockey player to buy for on your Christmas list, you need to check out the Hockey Shop in Langley. Their expert staff have been busy getting their stick racks ready for gift-giving season, and they've got the best selection of Bauer sticks for you to put under the tree, like their newest stick, the Bauer Twitch. It's the ultimate gift for any hockey player. And at the top of every kid's wish list is the Bauer Mystery Mini Stick, and the Hockey Shop has them in stock now. The Hockey Shop in Langley, or online at thehockeyshop.com.
Fill their toolbox with Milwaukee tools this holiday season. Hey, it's Laura from Raider Hansen. From Milwaukee lighting solutions to batteries and accessories, Raider Hansen is the place to check your list and check it twice. Reach new levels of power and performance with Milwaukee's combo kits, including M18 Fuel 2-tool drill kit and more on sale. Find stocking stuffers like gift cards for any budget. Call to ask about special pricing. For industrial and safety supplies, trust Raider Hansen, your source for Milwaukee tools. Visit RaiderHansen.com.
You're listening to 1130 News Radio. I'm Anthony Atanasov. The federal finance minister is announcing new housing measures that will be appearing in Monday's fall economic statement. However, as our Cormac McSweeney reports, she is being evasive about the size of the federal deficit.
The federal government has announced several new measures today on housing, including doubling the loan program for homeowners to build secondary suites to $80,000 and allowing refinancing of mortgages to pay for new secondary suites up to $2 million. However, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland was asked many times whether she'll meet her promise to cap the deficit at $40 billion. And each time she answered by talking about a separate fiscal target for the government.
The debt to GDP ratio for 23-24, which we put forward in the 24 budget, will be met.
The parliamentary budget officer estimates the deficit could be around $47 billion. Minister Freeland is also downplaying reports about tensions between her office and the Prime Minister's office over the cost of the GST holiday and their promise of $250 checks for all working Canadians. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
And Ontario Premier Doug Ford has revealed the Prime Minister and the Premiers will discuss Ottawa's response to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's tariff threat.
The Premier tells us that he and his fellow premiers will talk on the phone with the Prime Minister tomorrow to hear the PM's update on the trade threat from Trump.
To put together a proposal, number one, to strengthen our borders and hopefully meet our 2% NATO commitment, and to come up with a plan for negotiations with the U.S. on the trade.
On his Truth Social late last night, U.S. President-elect Trump called Prime Minister Trudeau a, quote, governor, And Canada, a quote, great state.
I can tell the president, I'm sure not thinking of Justin Trudeau at midnight. So if he's thinking of Justin at midnight, it's probably a good relationship.
The Prime Minister suggested on Monday that Canada is prepared to take some sort of action against the U.S. if Trump follows through on his tariff threat. Richard Southern, Queen's Park.
And about 1 in 4 drivers in British Columbia say they're either very nervous or extremely nervous when it comes to driving through parking lots during busy times of year. That's according to the latest survey from ICBC. 7 out of 10 drivers say they've been in or witnessed a crash in a parking lot. The corporation says it indicates that parking lots are not necessarily considered safer than open roads. Many drivers say they're very well aware of the hazards around them in a parking lot, but feel less confident about other drivers. Additionally, according to ICBC, British Columbians more likely to reverse in a stall whenever possible compared to pulling in. Your traffic and weather is next.
Making the mean streets
nicer
with traffic reports you can trust.
Updated every 10 minutes on the ones.
11:30 News Radio Vancouver.
Don't miss the London Drugs Weekly Flyer. During the Canada Post disruption, you can still find London Drugs Weekly Flyer in store or online at londondrugs.com/flyer. That's londondrugs.com/flyer.
The by-election in Cloverdale, Langley City is on Monday, December 16th. Polls will be open from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Due to the Postal Service disruption, electors will not receive a voter information card. You don't need one to vote. Visit elections.ca to find your assigned polling station and the list of accepted ID to prove your identity and address. For the official information you need to vote, visit elections.ca or call 1-800-463-6868. It's our vote.
Real Canadian Superstore is where it's at for great holiday savings. This week, get a free PC turkey for every $300 spent. Yep, your holiday dinner is on us. Plus, get Cook's ham for only $1.99 a pound. Find more legendary ways to save at Real Canadian Superstore. Conditions apply. See flyer for details.
It's 10:21 from the 11:30 Traffic Center. I'm Kevin Olenek, and most of the delays that you or we occurring are due to road work, and that includes in Vancouver on the Cambie Bridge, especially as you're heading towards City Hall. You got some volume back to Lake Yaletown. Get yourself over to the Burrard or Granville Bridge, and as well, you've got a closure in Surrey. This is on Highway 17 westbound from Tannery Road to Bridgeview Drive. This is part of the Patello Bridge replacement project, so watch for those detours. Patello Bridge is open. It's Highway 17 westbound that is closed. Highway 91 has some sweeping as you're approaching Mud Bay Park, and the work is continuing on Highway 1 from Glover Road in Langley to McCallum Road in Abbotsford. You've got the paving, you've got highway widening, you've got construction in both directions, particularly slow from 276th to Bradner as you're heading eastbound. As for the weather, mainly cloudy and cool tonight, a low of 2. A mix of sun and cloud on Wednesday, a high of 8. Steady rain on Thursday, temperature holding steady at 8. Showers on Friday, a high of 7. And Saturday's mainly cloudy. However, there is a risk of showers as well and a high of 5. That's where we are right now, 5 degrees in Vancouver.
This is 11:30 News Radio. I'm Anthony Atanisov. Alberta Health Services says it has taken a number of steps to better train hospital staff after an Indigenous man's braids were cut off without his consent while he was staying at the Royal Alexandra Hospital in Edmonton this past spring. Kathleen Crow, whose uncle Dexter Adams had his braids cut off, says the braids held a deep cultural significance for the 84-year-old.
It was basically like, it was the essence of his spirit. It was who he was. And to have that cut off, it was a huge change in him.
AHS spokesperson Carrie Williamson says the incident should have never happened, and new resources and learning opportunities for staff have been provided since then. In international news, the leader of the rebel group that has taken control of Syria has a message for the West.
Speaking with Sky News, the leader of the Syrian armed rebel group that ousted the Assad regime from power, saying Western nations have nothing to fear from his victory, adding his group doesn't seek further conflict and will bring stability back to Syria. Abu Muhammad al-Jolani is a former member of the Islamic State of Iraq and also had ties to al-Qaeda. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News, at the Foreign Desk.
And now it's time for your 11:30 News Radio All Christmas News. The city of Surrey excited to announce the return of Winter Ice Palace at Cloverdale Arena this month, celebrating the 25th anniversary. Starting December 14th, running to January 5th, the arena will be transformed with twinkling lights, colorful decorations, music, and more, marking the special occasion. This year's event will offer a variety of opportunities to connect, socialize, and embrace the spirit of the season. To commemorate the anniversary, a special kickoff event will be held on December 14th, featuring food trucks, giveaways, and festive music. Attendees can also enjoy 2 skating sessions from 1 to 2:30 and 3 to 4:30. Your Business News is next.
In a world that's always changing,
Your trusted news is always here.
listen 3, 4, 5 times a day. Because the more you listen,
The more you'll know.
1130 News Radio, Vancouver.
Dogs need
Quiet.
training.
Enough.
Get the training your dog needs from Barkbusters. For more than 30 years, Barkbusters has been helping transform relationships between dogs and their families, offering in-home training and personalized lesson plans for your dog and their needs. And as your dog matures or new issues emerge, Barkbusters will always be there to guide you as part of their lifetime commitment.
Good dog.
To start your in-home training, visit barkbusters.ca.
Everyone loves an easy call, like turning off the lights when you leave a room.